What's good, YouTube? This video is going to be about 12 different types of chemistry and why a lot of your relationships don't work out. But before I start, if you need coaching, go to girltalkwithgirls.com. The link is in the description. Now, with that said, I meet a lot of women that tell me they're either with a guy because they have a lot of chemistry, or they're, dismissing some guy that they think is nice or good, but they just don't have any chemistry with them, right? I hear the word chemistry so often, it really makes me a little bit sick to my stomach sometimes, because most of the time when I'm speaking to women who are telling me about what guy gives them chemistry and what guy doesn't give them chemistry, there's usually a shitty man that's weak and doing a bunch of manipulation tactics. He's giving her chemistry. And then there's this decent man who is not doing any of those tactics that doesn't give her chemistry, right? So she likes one, has butterflies with one, doesn't have butterflies with the other one. She's telling me, well, like, Kevin, I can't fake chemistry. I can't fake attraction, that makes sense. I'm with you on that. I would not agree. If a person's fugly or you find them repulsive, I don't think you should give them a chance. I get it. I'm not telling you to settle for people who you're repulsed by. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to get across to a lot of women is there are more than just one type of chemistry or two types of chemistry. There are about 12. Some people think there are 14 or 16. And when women often tell me about the guys they have chemistry with, they're just telling me they're attracted, right? So they have aesthetic chemistry, that's a type of chemistry. And they're also telling me they have sexual chemistry, right? They either have a desire for each other or they have great sex and they connect well sexually. So they're attracted and they have sexual chemistry. Sometimes they might have a spiritual or an intellectual chemistry, right? But there is so much more that a couple needs before they're actually compatible, right? Beyond having an intent to love, which most of these guys don't have, right? Even if they give them sexual chemistry or aesthetic chemistry or intellectual chemistry, the intent to love needs to come first. And most women don't establish if a man has an intent to love before she decides if she likes him. But that's another video. Anyway, we're going to list these types of chemistry so we can start to figure out why your relationships don't work when you have this quote unquote chemistry, or why you can't make a man good enough when he doesn't want to love when you have this quote unquote chemistry, and why you need to stop holding on to chemistry as a reason to take shit from people and to select the wrong men. You have recreational chemistry, intellectual chemistry, work chemistry, commitment chemistry, aesthetic chemistry, communication chemistry, emotional chemistry, creative chemistry, sexual chemistry, crisis chemistry, spiritual chemistry, and conflict chemistry, right? Those are 12 types of chemistry that I think are important, that some other people think are important too. And you can find types of chemistry on lists across Google, and maybe even some psychology books will tell you about it. But my point is, most of us only really focus on aesthetic chemistry, sexual chemistry, maybe intellectual chemistry, right? So we have good conversations with someone, we're attracted to them, we have good sex, we think we have chemistry, there's butterflies, there's sparks, there's fireworks everywhere, and then these relationships don't work out, and we're trying to figure out why. We have so much chemistry, but we keep skipping over people who have a more complete package because we're so focused on sexual chemistry and desire. But that's not my point here. My point isn't to shit on sexual chemistry. It's just to remind you that there are other things to consider when talking about chemistry, because every one of my clients is telling me about their sexual chemistry, but nobody's talking about their conflict chemistry, right? Which is the ability to handle conflict well and smoothly as a couple, right? How are you in conflict? When you have conflicts with each other, when you have conflicts with the outside world, how do you function as a couple, right? Partnership is an interdependence, meaning we need to depend on each other for certain things, right? We both need to be stable and be able to depend on each other when things get tough. Unfortunately enough, y'all focused on sexual chemistry and being attracted, and maybe even intellectual chemistry, having good conversations, but you're not actually focused on being able to count on your partner because you don't have any conflict chemistry, and you didn't even check that before you started. Or when you have your first fight, you realize you have no conflict chemistry. You're not identifying it as that, but you realize you don't get along when you're not getting along. Unfortunately enough, this is as important as sexual chemistry. Being able to fight in a healthy way, being able to go through things together. You're wondering why your relationships don't work out, or why you can't make that shitty man or that weak man or that chemistry man great. It's because you lack the chemistries that matter outside of sex. Many of you don't have a man who's spiritually aware, right? You're into spirit, you're into vibrations and mood and the stars and the rocks and stones and all of this stuff. And he's like, whatever. He's he's a jock, or he's just a guy, right? He's about getting money or this or that. He's simple. You're trying to figure out how to make this man because you like him and because there's sparks and you got desire and you got passion. You're trying to make this man compatible with you, but you are a spirit with a body, not the other way around. This man is just in his carnal mind. He has no spiritual awareness and you don't even connect with him. So you have to shut that part of yourself off because it's too much for him. That's an insanely important portion of who you are. And that's a very, very important type of chemistry. Do you have that with him? I'm not saying you have to have all 12 chemistries, but damn, you have to have more than sexual chemistry. You have to have more than intellectual chemistry or good stimulating conversations. You have to have more than that. Crisis chemistry. In a crisis, can you depend on your partner? When things get tough, is he tucking tail? Is he running? Is he throwing his head in the sand? What is he doing? A lot of these men cannot function with their own emotions and have no capacity to deal with yours. A lot of these men have shown that they are stunted. They don't understand you. They don't want to understand you. You need to get your emotions far, far away from them because they have no crisis management skills and you have no crisis chemistry as a couple. You cannot depend on each other in a crisis, or you can't depend on him. But you decided he's better than the guy who just doesn't make you wet from the very, very beginning. You have to learn how to make sure that you have a balance of chemistries and not just a bunch of desire and some intellectual exchanges that probably aren't even that great or gratifying. You just like him, so everything he says is interesting. Sexual chemistry is important, so we're not going to shit on that. But it can be developed over time, especially when a man loves you and he wants to please you. And when you love him and you feel comfortable with him and you open up to him emotionally and open up to him sexually instead of telling yourself that he's not good enough in this way, you can learn to love a person. It doesn't always work because we're not always fully committed to it. But when you're fully committed to loving a person, you can learn to love them, especially if they're giving you reasons to love them, especially if they're giving you these other chemistries. Now, sometimes a man doesn't give you sexual chemistry and he likes these other chemistries too. So in that case, that makes sense. That's why some nice guys finish last or don't work out with you. I get that. But I just want you to understand how wide and vast the term chemistry needs to be in your mind when you're telling somebody, especially me on the phone, why you didn't date the guy who was clearly good for you versus the guy who was shitty for you because of chemistry. Another chemistry that's important, creative chemistry, right? Being able to be in your creative mind, being able to grow and evolve and explore the possibilities with a person. Oftentimes women leave their relationships to go find themselves, right? They generally dive into their creative energy when they do this, right? People generally have their best ideas. They do their most exciting things. They evolve, they grow, they create new things for themselves. Their financial and their professional lives bloom because of the phase of creativity that they encounter. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to create and grow and evolve like that with your partner? That evolutionary creative chemistry is something that a lot of people need in their relationships. A lot of people's creative energy is completely blocked when they're around the person that they like, or that they have chemistry with, or that they're in a relationship with their partner. To be able to get into a flow state creatively while you're around your partner instead of needing to separate them is a huge gift. We often hear about a woman helping a guy grow and become great and then leaving her for someone else and they reap all the benefits and the rewards. One of the issues with that is, for me, is that when I hear that, I'm hearing I didn't develop myself. I didn't sit in my own creative energy. Maybe my own creative energy was blocked, but I gave all of my energy to him. Or I encouraged all of his creative energy by giving him the space and the tools he needed to be creative. But what about you? Why aren't you being able to create too? Right? If you don't have any creative chemistry with your partner, they don't bring creativity out of you. That's a problem. You need to be able to grow and to evolve and to create for yourself and for the environment and also for your partner when you're with them. If this is muted and this is stunted, these are the types of things that make us feel unfulfilled in life that we can't really put a finger on. Another chemistry, emotional chemistry. So many of you are emotional about a man who shows you no emotions. You feel emotions, so you're talking about how you got chemistry. You just feel something for him. But what does he do? What does he express? How does he feel? How does he deal with emotions, yours and his? A lot of women like me who don't show emotions, can't regulate them, can't manage his own emotions, has no capacity to hear about her emotions or to deal with them, so he runs away from conflict, won't hash out things, won't talk about issues, and won't acknowledge when she's sad or when she's hurt. Because he's emotionally stunted. They have no emotional chemistry. While you have emotions for him, you do not have a free-flowing exchange of emotions with each other because one of you are blocked, if not both of you. Stop telling me about sexual chemistry when you don't have emotional chemistry. This is the type of stuff I'm talking about. You need more than desire to have a healthy relationship. Again, and that's if you've established a man's intent to love, which I always talk about. Moving on, communication chemistry. Is he a good communicator? Too often I meet a woman who loves a man, who's head over heels for him, who's chasing him, who's, having calls with me, trying to figure out how to get more out of him, and they have no communication intimacy. He has no ability to communicate, no desire to communicate, no desire to improve his communication. And or she's a terrible communicator. She doesn't watch how she say things, when she say things, what she says. What comes out of her mouth is ridiculous, harmful, hateful, hurtful. If you have no communication intimacy, if you can't speak in a healthy way to each other, receive and give messages to each other freely and abundantly, if you don't understand each other, if you don't speak the same language communicatively, if that's a word, you don't have a chance of survival. Again, all the sex and all the attraction and all the desire in the world won't give you communication intimacy if a person is unwilling to check themselves and evolve and grow and become better and acknowledge their own flaws, whether that's you or your partner or your crush or your situationship buddy. Commitment chemistry, right? The act of committing, the trust that you have that neither of you are going anywhere, the knowing that you are each other's, that you have each other's backs no matter what. I consider commitment chemistry more of a grace chemistry, right? I think the term used, if you were Googling, is commitment chemistry, but I think it's more like grace. I think when people offer you grace, they allow you to be imperfect and stay committed. They allow you to be wrong and stay committed. They allow you to piss them off and stay committed. They allow you to challenge them and stay committed. You don't always have to be perfect. It doesn't always have to be hot. It doesn't always have to be fiery. It doesn't always have to be exciting, but you know that your partner is coming home. You know that they're committed to the relationship and they will see it through and see the processes through to get back to a place where you're both enjoying yourself. Too often I talk to men and women who don't give their partner the grace to be imperfect or to bore them or to have a phase where they're just working or focusing on something else outside of the relationship. Some of you are focused on dating your partner so much that you can't grow because you're always focused on the relationship. You have to be able to put the excitement down sometimes to get to the next level in life for each other. This constant need to always be dating and always be on fire, I get it, it's romantic, but commitment chemistry allows a man space to not be romantic for a while and still know that his wife is loyal to him and won't victimize herself in her head and then excuse herself by cheating, which a lot of women do. Women cheat and they victimize themselves. They say, well, you wasn't there or some bullshit like that. And they're legitimately thinking that they're justified because they have no commitment chemistry. They have no grace for their partner to be boring or to be off his game for a little while. I think it's a grace chemistry. That's what I like. So I don't like the term commitment chemistry. I think it's really just grace. And if we're talking about chemistries, it's grace chemistry. But a lot of you don't have that. A lot of you know that if you piss a man off, you never see him again, or he's going to be in somebody else's bed that night, or he's going to play you, or he's going to put you on ice. That is not commitment chemistry, and you don't have it. So as much as you really like the sex when you can get him, if you piss him off, you know somebody else is getting it. Work chemistry. How do you work together, right? Can you complete projects together? Do you have a synchronicity about the way you flow when things need to be accomplished? Some people don't have that. You can't work well with your partner. Some people fall apart when they have to do a project together. You work on this part, I work on this part. I'm so sick of you. That's how people are. If you don't flow well with your partner, if you can't complete a task, if you can't work together, then are you really partners? Isn't that the whole point? Guys understand partnership when it comes to sports, but for whatever reason, he won't work with you. Or you understand partnership when it comes to certain things, but for whatever reason, you can't work with him. Y'all bicker, y'all fight, y'all can't get along, and y'all upset at each other the whole time. You have no work chemistry. Again, survival, getting through life is going to require you to be able to work well together, not just sleep well, not just sex well. Intellectual chemistry. We all know about that. We have great conversations, stimulating conversations, right? That's good. And I think that we should still continue to make sure that we got that in our partners. But again, it's not the only type of chemistry and we over focus on it sometimes. Last but not least, recreational chemistry. I think many of us like that. We like to be able to have a good time with a person, right? We like to be able to have the same type of fun as a person. Oftentimes, that's how we end up with each other. Two people smoke. They like to smoke together. Two people drink, they like to drink together. People who party like to party together. People who relax like to relax together. Your recreational chemistry is a big indicator of how compatible you are, because in general, If you don't have the same type of fun as a person, it can't work. If you don't have the same type of fun as your family members, you probably don't see them. If you think about the family members that you spend the most time with, they're the family members that you have the same type of fun as. The ones who do things that you don't do, you hardly see. That's life. So recreational chemistry is important, but it's usually how we meet. So it's not necessarily a problem most of the time. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about these different types of chemistries so we can open our mind up about the things that we're supposed to be looking for in relationships outside of just having good conversations and having good sex. And that's what I hear most of the time. Oh, we have great conversation. Oh, we have great sex. Oh, we talk about God. That's really cool. But what about these other things, these other 9 things that you should probably be trying to build on and work toward? So anyway, I thought that this would be helpful to just talk about so we could have this conversation and at least start it. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about these things. Follow me at Kevin24 on Instagram. One-on-one coaching link is in the description. I'll get with y'all later.